Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I have for you a very special Eastern European pastry recipe, and I'll be making my poppy seed rolls with apricots and walnuts. In Ukraine, in Russia, in Eastern Europe, poppy seed rolls are super popular. You're gonna find them everywhere. You can enjoy them for breakfast, for snack, with coffee, with tea. And I actually have a more traditional version of this recipe in my cookbook, Beyond Borscht. Today I want to show you guys a really fun way that I like to make them at home. So we're going to start with some really soft yeast dough. Make that poppy seed filling with apricots, walnuts, sugar, and then after baking the rolls, I like to add a simple sugar syrup just to make these extra special. You guys are gonna love the flavors and the textures here. For the full list of ingredients and the written instructions, head on down into that video description box and follow the link over to my website. I'm going to have everything online there for you guys. Meanwhile, let's get started, and I always start this recipe with the yeast dough since it does need to proof for a little bit. We'll start with 1 cup of whole milk, and I've heated this in the microwave. You need this to be between 120 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to sprinkle in 1 tablespoon of active yeast. Give this a quick whisk, and then we're going to set this aside for about 5 minutes. Separately, into a large mixing bowl, I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of melted unsalted butter, 2 large eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then just grab a whisk and mix this all together until the eggs are well beaten. Next, pour in the milk and yeast mixture and give that a mix. And now we can start adding our flour. I've measured out 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I like to add about 3/4 cups up to a cup at a time. We're gonna start out with our whisk. Whisk that in first, and then as the dough starts to come together, I'll switch over to my spatula. And once a soft dough forms, I'm going to sprinkle my work surface generously with flour, and we're going to knead our dough. And then as you're kneading, just sprinkle additional flour over the top. Knead the dough for about 4 to 5 minutes until it's very elastic and smooth. And once my dough is nicely kneaded, I'm going to sprinkle some flour into this mixing bowl. You don't have to get a new one, just drop it into the same bowl. I'm going to cover this with a clean towel and set this into a warm corner of my kitchen. Let this dough proof for about an hour, hour and a half until it's doubled up in size. Meanwhile, I'm going to show you how to make that easy filling. And for my filling, I have 3/4 cups of walnuts. You can also use pecans or almonds. I'm gonna drop these into my food processor. You can also use a knife to finely dice the walnuts and the apricots. And I have 1/2 cup of apricots, dried apricots, and pulse these until they're finely chopped. Next, I'll add in 3/4 cups of poppy seeds, 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar, and this is an optional addition, but I have some vanilla bean paste. I'm going to add in a teaspoon of that. It's going to add a little bit of that vanilla flavor. And last, I have 1/2 cup of unsalted softened butter. You want it to be really soft so that it kind of combines everything together. Soft but not melted. And then pulse everything together to create a thick, almost paste-like crumbly mixture that's easy to spread. Just going to transfer this filling into a separate bowl, cover it and set it aside, and wait until my dough has proofed. My dough has proofed nicely, and now we can start working on our roll. So I've lined a large baking sheet with the silicone mat. You can also use parchment paper. We have our filling ready to go, a rolling pin. I'm going to turn this dough out onto a lightly floured work surface. And we don't need to knead it again, we just need to punch it down and get rid of the air. There you go. And then lightly flour your rolling pin and roll the dough out into a very large square. So you should do about 18 to 20 inches across. Next, we'll grab our poppy seed and walnut spread, drop it onto the surface, and then use an offset spatula to spread that evenly across the dough. And then very gently, we're gonna lift the dough and fold it in half. And then I'll use a knife to score the dough. You want about an inch, inch and a half of a dough per roll. And then for shaping the rolls, we're going to lift each segment, kind of pull it apart, stretch it a little bit, and we're going to start twisting it from both sides. So these are made very similar to my pistachio baklava rolls. And it's such a great way to shape these. And then start on this end, roll them right up, and then tuck this tail right underneath like that. And with my rolls shaped, I'm going to add the final step, which is the egg wash. Drop a large egg into a measuring cup or a small bowl. Give it a really good whisk. And then I'll use a pastry brush and brush the egg wash over the rolls. Make sure you get it all over. And with my egg wash all done, these are ready to be proofed. I'm going to let them sit at room temperature for another 30 minutes, allowing them to double up in size. Meanwhile, I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Once these are proofed, we'll bake for about 35 to 40 minutes until they're a rich golden brown color. Now, if they start to get too much color, you can always just lay a sheet of foil over the top to tint the dough as it bakes. But you do want to extend that baking time just a little bit so that the dough on the inside is baked as well. While these are baking, I'm going to show you how to make a really simple sugar syrup that we're going to add on top of these once they're out of the oven. For the syrup, I'll combine half a cup of water with half a cup of white granulated sugar in a small saucepan and add in the juice from half a lemon. It'll be about a tablespoon and a half of lemon juice. I'll bring this up to a boil on the stove top. And once it comes up to simmer, I'll reduce the heat and let it simmer away for about 5 to 7 minutes and let it stand at room temperature while the rolls are baking. I just took these out of the oven, and while they're still warm, you want to grab a pastry brush and brush on that sugar syrup. It's going to give the rolls a nice shiny finish on the outside. And let's cut into one of these so you guys can see what it looks like on the inside. Check that out. Lots of incredible poppy seed, apricot, and walnut filling. And that's it for my poppy seed rolls. These smell so incredibly delicious. I can't wait to dig in and enjoy. For the full list of ingredients and the written instructions, including this recipe with metric measurements, head on down into that video description box and follow the link over to my website. I always have everything online there for you guys. I just need a cup of tea for this. This is what I love to have this with tea or coffee. This bread is so incredibly soft. Oh, lots and lots of filling. You guys are going to fall head over heels with these poppy seed rolls. The dough is so incredibly light and fluffy, and it's so incredible combined with all that filling, the poppy seeds, the apricots, the walnuts. I love that these aren't too sweet. It's gonna be the perfect pairing with some coffee in the morning, or just enjoy it as an afternoon snack. If you've never had Ukrainian poppy seed rolls, or as we call them in Ukraine, roulette с маком, you have to give these a try. You're gonna love everything about this recipe. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up and a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys, and I'll see you next time with a new video.